Hey everyone, Hassan here. Welcome to the world of Ha. Today I am joined by a very special guest. He plays the Blue Power Ranger Preston Tien on Power Rangers Ninja Steel and the upcoming Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel. And more recently, in the joint collaboration between Saban Brands and Hyper RPG, he plays the Red Power Ranger, Marvin Shi, aka Marv, on Power Rangers HyperForce. It's my honor to welcome Peter Sudarso.
Yo, thanks man, thanks for having me.
So I know you're on Power Rangers Ninja Steel, which is really exciting, but today I wanted to focus mostly on Power Rangers HyperForce, specifically because it's a fresh, exciting new avenue for the Power Rangers brand. Mm-hmm. So I do have some questions from the viewers, so let's just jump right in.
Cool, yeah, let's do it.
So first question comes from my good friend Brian at Collector Shuki on Twitter. He said, what is it like to go from being a fan to a Ranger? You and Yoshi's story and legacy is an inspiration to Ranger fans everywhere.
I mean, it's exactly the way I guess you'd imagine it. Well, for me, it was looking up to Yoshi, getting Power Rangers first. He was the one, I think, who opened it up to all of us, you know, not just me, the future Rangers that are coming up. Who knows what's casting next? But I mean, to the people that are coming up, like, it shows that, like, as fans, we aren't just fans anymore, you know? We are capable of being Rangers, that anything is possible at this point. So, I guess it feels amazing.
Now, that's so cool, because I remember my first ever Power Morphicon was the last one, and I just remember that moment on stage with him reading your name and the whole reveal. I mean, there was not a dry eye at all. It was such a really cool moment.
Yeah, it was really, for me anyways, it was a very nerve-wracking time, because I was also, like, trying to keep down a secret. It was fun.
Well, that's awesome. And so, you know, in addition to Ninja Steel, now on Power Rangers HyperForce, you get to play another Power Ranger. So what does it feel like to be playing two different Rangers, basically, kind of at the same time?
Dude, I'm excited to play Marvin for HyperForce, but what I'm more excited about is the fact that I got to design the suits. That is what really blows me away. Like, being Marvin is great. I love being in HyperForce. I love all the support that everyone's given. I love the energy. I love everything about HyperForce is great. My main thing about it is the fact that we now have, as fans, we have power to create Rangers. That to me is like a whole different thing, because now Saban isn't just doing things off of Sentai. It's opening doorways for people who have wanted to become Rangers, and maybe if they don't act, this gives them a segue to create their own Ranger and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. The HyperForce designs are awesome, by the way.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I put a lot of work into those.
So how did that come about? Like, did Saban Brands contact you to be a part of HyperForce and help design it, or how did that come together?
Well, originally, me and Yoshi were going to create our own thing. We were going to create our own thing like HyperForce. And when I pitched it to Saban, it turns out that they were already working on something of their own. So they linked me and Yoshi up with the Hyper RPG group. So we talked, but then Yoshi went off to go do his movie in Indonesia, so he couldn't be a part of it. But we talked, and originally they just wanted me to be a Ranger. And then they talked about, like, the different Ranger suits and everything. And me being a fan, just like anyone else who is a fan, I'm an eager person, you know, like, if you're a fan of Power Rangers and someone tells you, hey, we're about to do an original Power Rangers of our own, you would probably be like me and push as hard to get things to go the way that, like, you would imagine it to be, you know? Like, first things first, I was like, oh, you got to make it an original team. And then after that, I drew, like, multiple different designs for them, and I sent it to them. And this was before the design phase even started. So they were like, at first, they didn't know what was going on, and then I just kept on, like, sending it, and eventually someone from Hyper RPG and someone from Saban was like, hey, actually, this kid's not bad, so let's give him a shot, you know? Let's let him design something. So they told me to make 6 different designs. I did it all in pencil sketch, concepts and everything, and then one thing led to another. They approved my designs, and they liked it, and they ended up going with the designs I chose.
That is awesome. Did they tell you at all at that point that this was going to be a sequel to Time Force, or did that come later?
No, they told me nothing. They told me different things, and they told me, like, different design things. But I personally, I just drew what I liked, because I was like, oh, I really like SPD. SPD is a good season. I really like Go Buster from Sentai, and they never got their suits made. So I wanted to see something like Go Busters, but I also wanted to involve some of my favorite stuff like SPD. Also, they wanted some Mighty Morphin elements in it because obviously Hyper RPG is part of the 25th anniversary of Power Rangers. So we threw in a bunch of Mighty Morphin designs in there as well. But no, I didn't know anything about the storyline until literally the first episode when I was there. That's when I found out at the time of.
Now that's so cool because the just how it came to fruition and then turning into this whole big celebration of the 25th anniversary. It's awesome to see how that all came together.
Yeah, man, it's really an exciting time for Ranger fans like us.
So, I mean, you getting the opportunity to play two different Power Rangers, right, Marvin and Preston, which Ranger do you relate to the most out of the two?
It's a mixture. It's definitely a mixture. I'm a lot more like Preston in the sense that I am just kind of like goofy, nerdy. I enjoy things that are fun. But also on the other spectrum, I'm a lot like Marvin in the sense that I'm not afraid. I'm very bold, I guess, when it comes to things. I'm very outspoken, a lot like Marvin, and even a lot of Marvin's flaws stem from me, not from the character itself. Like, we did have to make a new character, but a lot of the times when it comes to role-playing a game, you tend to go your natural route, So even with Marvin, one of the things that he was that he was really compulsive. He was really impulsive. He rushes into things. He doesn't think about it. That's me. That's me to a T, But also at the same time, I'm not as emotional as Marvin. I'm more so like Preston in the sense that like I tend to think that things are more fun than they are dark, And Marvin, being that he is a leader, he has to be more of a mature person than Preston. And me in real life, I'm not a leader, I'm just I'm like everybody else.
No, that's really cool. And actually, there are a couple questions that people had regarding the fact that Marvin is the leader of HyperForce. So Charlotte Shields on Facebook said, one of my favorite things about Marv is the fact that he's grown into the leader role on the team. What is one of the hardest things for him as the leader of the group?
Well, this goes without saying that with every Ranger group, every Red Ranger is going to suffer this trope. And I don't know if the Rangers do, but the actors definitely do. And it's one of those things where, you know what? I can't speak for every Red Ranger. But me, myself, I see it as like, you're put in this position of like, everyone should follow you. You're the leader. But who decided that? And so in a role-playing game, it's different than in acting. In acting, when I'm on the show, if the Red Ranger is the leader, everyone just kind of accepts it because that's the way that the script works. That's the way that the situations and scenarios work. The Red Ranger is the leader. You follow what he does. You follow your lines. You follow the script. In a role-playing perspective, it's very different. As a leader, you kind of have to understand how to lead. And it was definitely something that not just as Marvin, but me, myself, as a person was struggling with. I was like, how do I lead a group of people who are playing a game and they're playing a character, but they are also making decisions based off of their own emotional state, So it was different. It was interesting. I realized that leading isn't about being the person who tells people what to do. Leading is about understanding what your teammates are going through and motivating them and making decisions that may be harder for other people that you have to do yourself. Sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself in order for the whole team to do well. Or sometimes you have to not be the hero. You have to step back and let somebody else be a hero for the good of the team. And that's just something that I've learned along the way as the character. And also, it never established in HyperForce that Red was a leader right off the bat. So my character didn't know he was a leader until people started being like, oh, Red Ranger's the leader. Red Ranger's the leader. But even then, I think Marvin himself had a bit of a crisis where he was like, I'm the leader? Why? I'm used to being a solo agent, I was in the Time Force. I had a partner, but I had my own mission that I was looking forward to. Now I have to work with people. I don't know how to handle this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting how the organic nature of a role-playing game plays into the story. Like, I personally had no experience watching anything like this before. But after watching the first episode, like just seeing how it all worked and just seeing how the story came together, I thought was really fascinating.
Well, dude, thank you, man. If you've never seen an RPG show before and you got into HyperForce and you liked it, that is a win in my opinion. Because honestly, I know a lot of Ranger fans who would watch HyperForce and just be completely turned off because it's like, what's going on? They don't have real suits. They're not fighting real people. What? They're just at a table talking? You know?
Yeah, no, I it's definitely a different format, but I just think there's that Ranger essence that still comes with it, and all the characters are so just fun, and it definitely
yeah, like you said before, it's a different format, which is nice. It's showing that like Power Rangers doesn't just have to be conventional.
And with that format, like you're in control. You know, with Power Rangers the TV show, you have a script that you have to go off of, but here you get to really make the decision. So what's that like, kind of being, you know, in the pilot seat now?
It's exciting and it's terrifying all at the same time, because at one point I'm excited that I get to take reins of my character. I take control of what my character wants. I get to control him pretty much. Whereas with the show and being Preston wasn't me. Preston wasn't my control. Preston was whatever the director wanted, whatever the writer wanted. And so it's not as satisfying. But with Marvin, it's incredibly fulfilling. It's gratifying. I get to suffer the consequences that Marvin faces. I get to enjoy the glory that Marvin gets, you know, but also at the same time, it's kind of terrifying because I know that every decision I make actually ultimately affects everyone around me. Not only does it affect everyone around me, it affects the brand itself. It's a lot of responsibility because, I mean, Saban itself is a brand that prides itself on heart and humor. And if I make the wrong decision, then I no longer represent that brand, you know? And so that's a lot of responsibility for a person to have.
Yeah, definitely a lot of trust. You think about it from Saban Brands and having this property and everything that's been around for 25 years, and to put it into this live setting, it definitely takes a lot of trust to...
Yeah, which I applaud them for, because that's honestly, that's how a company should work anyways. They should work on the basis of trust. They should trust that their fans are 100% in line with their view, in line with their vision, and so the people they hire should also be in line with their vision and their view, you know?
So I have a question from Chris, at Toku Chris from Toku Nation. So he said, how surprised were you to see Yoshi walk on set to play your on-screen Ranger brother?
You know, at the beginning of HyperForce, when we were doing all this stuff and Yoshi said he couldn't do it, an inkling in my mind was like, you know, this would be a perfect time for Yoshi to pull a prank on me. So back then, I thought about it and I was like, yeah, this is going to happen. He's going to come in, he's going to surprise me. Then as the seasons went on, and I think episode 10, it was when I saw my brother in that illusion and Malika gave that to me, I realized that Yoshi wasn't going to come back. And I thought that she was going to actually like either kill him off or let me run into a situation with him where I get to say my final words, but I didn't think that he was going to come back, especially as a Ranger. Not to mention Time Force.
Yeah, that was such an epic moment. It was totally Yoshi flipping the script on you after the Ninja Steel reveal, which is
100%, dude. 100%.
So the cool thing about HyperForce that I love is the cast is so much fun, and everybody brings something so unique to the show. So I wanted to just briefly talk about each of the cast members and just share just something about them. So starting with Andre Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy, plays Eddie, the Blue Ranger. What's it like working with Andre as Eddie?
Oh, terrible. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's great. He is probably one of the coolest dudes I've met in this whole Ranger fandom, because I've actually known him prior to me booking Power Rangers, Yoshi booking Power Rangers. We knew him from the very, 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 very beginning. So it's really cool. It's also very well deserved. One of the things about Power Rangers is that it gives hope. And Andre, as Eddie, I think inspires hope for people. He inspires hope more than anyone for people, because he is one of the original people who were huge fans of the franchise. He was not afraid to speak up about it on YouTube, and now he gets to be a Ranger. So it's really cool, and I get to see that enthusiasm in him playing as a Ranger. Not to mention he's actually not very different than Eddie himself in the character. Like, he's very friendly, very outgoing, very welcoming, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's a dope dude.
Yeah, I've been watching his YouTube channel for a while and had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times. Really cool guy, definitely.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy. And to be honest, like if anyone deserved to be in his position as that character, it's him. You know, I can't imagine anyone else playing that character.
And then we have Paul Schreyer, who obviously, everybody knows him as Bulk from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and many other seasons, plays Jack Thomas, the Yellow Ranger. He finally gets to be a Power Ranger.
Yeah, dude, he is one of the funniest dudes I know. Not even joking. Off screen and on screen, he's so smart. I didn't know this about him because he always plays. Well, what I know him from is Bulk, So I know him as like this character who's kind of goofy, but kind of stupid. Like he kind of runs into stupid situations. But in real life, the character itself, he's actually incredibly, not even the character, but him in person, he's incredibly smart. If you ever see him in his role-playing state, he thinks of things so quickly, like incredibly fast, and he articulates himself so well. And it's one of those things that I have so much admiration for the guy. He's incredibly hardworking. He takes the most notes when we're on the show. He remembers the most. He always comes and has really fresh ideas. Not to mention the guy's really dang nice. I thought that he wasn't going to be as cool because, I mean, he's a celebrity,
Yeah, no, Paul is awesome. He is hilarious and just brings so much energy for sure. So then we have Megan Camarena, known as Strawberry17 on social media and her YouTube channel. Chloe Ashford is who she plays, the Pink Ranger. So how is it working with Megan?
I actually recommended her for the project. I remember when they were talking about casting, they were like, so we need somebody to play the other Rangers. Do you have anyone in mind? Actors are great. Actresses are great. Social media people are cool. Or even just people you think are interesting would be great. And I thought about it. I was like, who's an actress, a social media person, and somebody interesting? Megan. And not to mention, Megan has also been there for me and Yoshi's reveal. Well, not mine, but she was there for Yoshi's reveal. And she's always been a Ranger fan. And so when I heard the opportunity that we got to create Rangers, the first person that popped into my head was Megan. I was like, without a doubt, I got to get her on the show. And I'm glad she did, because I'm glad she agreed to it, because she's hilarious. She brings up such a dynamic in the show, and I didn't even know she was such a fantastic actress until like 2 episodes ago, when she broke down in front of the screen, and I was like, whoa, wow, Megan, kudos, really, really good job. Besides that, she's great. I've known her for 5 years, 4, 5, 6 years maybe. When I first got in the industry, I ran into her through Yoshi. Most of the people that I've met in this industry are through Yoshi, actually, but Megan specifically, because her and Yoshi are really, really close. And she's always been super kind. She's always helped us out whenever we needed anything. Really, really nice person.
Yeah, she definitely brings such a cool energy to the show, and that moment that you're talking about was it was so emotional too.
Oh my gosh, really cool. I felt it. I was like, whoa, jeez.
And then of course we have Christina V, who plays Vesper, the Black HyperForce Ranger. She brings such an interesting dynamic to the show, which is really cool. What's it like with Christina?
Yeah, she actually went to my college. She went to my college, and her and Yoshi were classmates. That's actually how I met her. And I actually originally was going to work with her on a different project, and I talked with her a bunch, and so we got to talking and hanging out, and then I thought about like this whole thing, and I remember when we were still casting, I thought about it. I was like, who would be great to play a Power Ranger? And then if you know Christina V's resume list at all, you would know, like, my goodness, this girl is beyond talented. She could sing, she could act, she does voices, and it just kind of worked out so perfectly that she's an android, because her as a person has multiple different voices. She can control the way she talks and all that stuff, and it kind of just fits so well with the whole android theme of it all. But she's great. She's super kind, really genuine. One of the most genuine people I've ever met. Like, she says what's on her mind. She's just a really honest person.
That's cool. I know she always is ready to bust out into song, and I've seen videos of her singing. She can really sing, and then it's funny to see her as Vesper, just like coming up with all sorts of crazy songs and raps, and it's hilarious. And then, not a ranger herself specifically, but Malika Lim is the game master, and she gets to play a whole bunch of other side characters like Alpha 55, a lot of the villains, and she basically controls, the game and the story. So how is it working with Malika?
She is definitely one of the most hardworking people that I've met. The amount of detail that she's put into this show is ridiculous. You guys, you've seen the little things that she's researched and put into the show, like Premator's butt slapping, or even like the little thing about like the amount of miles that they walked to get into Corn City, and it's just like so much detail that even me as a fan, like I thought I was a big fan, and looking at that detail, I missed it. I'm like, I didn't know that, and it's just like, whoa. She's put in so much effort into HyperForce. I definitely really, really admire her.
For sure. She's done a really great job with everything, definitely. So we have a question from Techie at Techie Carer. Which HyperForce Ranger are you most interested in learning more about their backstory, and who do you think will best help you explore more of Marv's?
Who I would love to explore the backstory of Christina V's character, because she's a closed book. She barely knows her own stuff, so it's not even just about her keeping it back. It's about her not knowing. Who do I think would benefit Marv's backstory? Is that what you said?
Like, who do you think will best help you explore more of Marv's backstory?
I feel like Marv and Chloe have a linked story. It's just kind of like that we both have lost family. They're both missing, yet no bodies are found. But yeah, if anything, maybe her.
Do you have a favorite moment so far at all in HyperForce?
Well, it's kind of biased, but I gotta say when Yoshi showed up. But besides those moments, obviously, I really like. I know this sounds terrible, but I actually really like the scene where Jack sacrificed himself for my character. I think that's a huge turning point for my character, because that's when he realized like his actions really do affect everybody else, not just his own. And Jack's character being that way and throwing himself in front of the attack and literally almost risking his own character's life for mine, it was incredibly touching, and it just shows how good of a person he is too. Because in D&D and in any RPG and role-playing game that if your character dies, it takes a lot of effort to get them back. So generally, you don't want them to die. Or if your character dies, they disappear forever. So generally, you don't want your character to die. And being able to throw yourself in harm's way for somebody else, it shows a lot about a person.
So on HyperForce, you've had a lot of really cool special guests, both from Power Rangers and from other areas as well. Are there any other special guests? This comes from Cody Blasks at Cody_Blask on Twitter. What's one guest ranger that you would want to have on HyperForce?
I would love to. I'd love to meet Sky from SPD. Well, I don't know what his actor's name is, but he's the Blue Ranger on SPD. Because he played 3 different Rangers as well. He technically played Blue, Red, and Shadow Ranger. Or in the lore, anyways. He would be cool to meet. I would love to have Mick, actually. Kelson Henderson. I'd love to have him play a character, either play Boom, play Mick on our series, just because he's such a cool guy. He's done so much for the franchise, and yet not a lot of people know about him. He's one of the secrets of the Ranger fandom, I guess.
Yeah, he's been on so many different seasons. I mean, he might as well pop into HyperForce in some fashion. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, he would be great for it.
From Chirag Asnani on Facebook, he said, Peter mentioned that Mystic Force is his favorite or one of his favorite seasons. Does Marv, an alien from the year 3016, believe in magic?
I don't think he believes in magic because I didn't really say this on the show yet, but his planet, people from his galaxy and his planet, different people have different abilities. And so I think Marv himself would view magic as an ability instead of magic. It's like the way that if we look at telephones now, we would call it technology. But
Mm-hmm.
if you took a cell phone back to the 1800s, they would call it magic because they didn't have anything like it and they couldn't define it. So I think Marv's home planet, there are people who have different abilities like creating fire or shape shifting or different things. It's just not an ability that people on Earth find common. So they would call it magic. I don't think he himself would call it magic, but he believes that obviously different abilities exist for different people.
Oh, that's very interesting. That would be cool. Lulu Bug Cosplay asked, considering that together you and Yoshi portray 4 characters on 4 Ranger teams, what has the last 4 years been like for you and Yoshi as you keep making Ranger history? Can we expect more in the future from the Sudarso legacy, either in Power Rangers or new projects?
The past 4 years has been phenomenal. I I was about to make that joke of saying more phenomenal, and I was like, that's so corny. No, it's been amazing. It's literally been life changing. The moment that Yoshi booked Power Rangers, like I said, it opened a doorway for many fans to realize that they too can be Rangers themselves, including me. Um, Acting, my career's taken off. Uh, things have been really really great in terms of work, anyways, and in terms of looking towards the future. I would say you could definitely expect more from us for Power Rangers because obviously I'm on the show now. But I think after my season's done and after HyperForce is done, I don't know if we're going to be doing anything regarding Power Rangers more after that. But who knows? The future's not written yet. So, but definitely more and more so in acting. Lots of cool things are coming this year.
So Judith Dahmen on Facebook said, I see Peter doodle around a lot during Hyperforce episodes when it's not his turn to take action. Can you ask him if there's any chance he might share some more of his fan art? Because I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, I've actually shared most of them on the show. Every time I do like the mid breaks, I actually stopped doing it because I realized it looks like I am not paying attention, even though I am. I don't want people to think that I'm not paying attention, so I've stopped doodling during the sessions. But yeah, every time I did in the past, I've posted it up.
Chris at Digisect Chris said, do you see Hyperforce as a continuous story that will stretch over multiple seasons, or is it designed with a predetermined story and ending in mind?
I don't know what Malika and Cameron and Saban Brands has in store for Hyperforce. Me personally, I think that they should have a closed loop because Power Rangers are like seasons, in my opinion. Power Rangers are like they're generational. Like you define, for me anyways, I define myself by the Rangers that I grew up with, or like I define different people. Like I know some of my friends are the Turbo era. That's when they peaked in watching Power Rangers. For me, it was the Disney era, like the Mystic Force, SPD, because that's when I was super interested in it. So I think it should come to a close. I think every Ranger should always get their powers and should be able to give them up willingly. That's one of the beautiful things about Power Rangers that I love. It's about people getting called to action, receiving that call to action, and being willing to give up their life, give up everything they have to be protectors of the universe, and having this boundless, limitless power. Then eventually, when the call is done and the deed is done and they have saved the world, they let that power go to the next person. And it's exactly the way that Power Rangers works. You hire an actor for 2 years, and then after that actor's done, you hire another set of actors every 2 years. It's like a beautiful cycle of life and death.
Yeah, just passing the torch, basically, on to the next legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Jackson asked on Facebook, if Marv gets a battleized form, what would you want it to be like, and what kinds of weapons or attacks would you want it to have?
Well, right now they already have a battleizer for Chloe, and I think the Chloe battleizer is pretty much the Time Force battleizer. So I don't think they're going to change it up and be like, oh yeah, let's give Chloe a Time Force battleizer, let's give Marv a Wild Force battleizer. But if I had the choice, I would choose either the... Yeah, actually, I would probably choose Dino Thunder battleizer or the Wild Force battleizer. And I would love if I could have a finishing move. That's the one thing about HyperForce that I think it lacks. it lacks that feeling of Power Rangers when everyone bands together and does a finishing move or a final attack. I would just love a skill that I could use as a final attack or a group skill.
That'd be interesting. Even like roll calls is another thing that
yeah, exactly. That's a very Power
Ranger
thing. Yeah.
Spice and Rose at Rose and Spice said, "What was your favorite Ranger toy as a kid?"
My favorite Ranger toy. I never really played too much with the toys. I was more of a coloring book kind of guy. So I think my favorite toy would have to be a coloring book. I used to have an old Dire Ranger. That Dire Ranger never came out into the States, but I grew up in Indonesia. So I used to have like these Dire Ranger coloring books, and they were my favorite.
I guess we've seen teeny bits of Dire Ranger in Super Mega Force to an extent, so technically I guess you could say it's canon to Power
that's
Rangers,
true. Yeah, you're right.
Matt Hunt at The Real Matt Hunt wanted to ask something kind of related to toys, but what toy do you personally want them to make from the show, if they did make any toys?
The Rangers. 100%. The Rangers. That's the main thing. The Zords would be cool, but I don't know. There's just something about having solid Ranger toys that I could hold,
Yeah, and the designs I think would work really well with toys for sure.
Sweet. Yeah, dude, thank you.
Kyle D'Antonio was saying he named his character after Gokai Red, so he wanted to ask about what other seasons of Super Sentai have you watched, and related to that, the Legendary Special One asked your favorite Sentai season.
I've seen all of the Neo Saban Sentai ones. I've seen Magi Ranger, I've seen Goanger, Deca Ranger, Dai Ranger. I'm currently watching the what is it? Ginga Man. I'm watching Ginga Man right now, and it's really good. Favorite season would have to be Tokyuger, and then Deca Ranger, and then Q Ranger. No, sorry, Kyoryuger.
Yeah, Tokyuger, I love the mecha in Tokyuger, and just the way they combined and everything. It was so interesting.
Yeah, and to be honest, dude, Tokyuger has one of the best themes. Not like trains, but the idea that kids can literally imagine their way to success. I love that idea of it.
Norman Law said, do you like Kamen Rider?
I do. I watch some of it. I don't watch nearly as much as Sentai, though.
Jim Bivon at JimB_85 said, what does Peter hope to do in the future? Films, more TV work, mix of both?
Definitely films. Film and TV work, I guess. Yeah. Anything that allows me to act, I would love to do. I just booked a role on Grownish a while back, so the last episode of Grownish, you'll be able to see me on there.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a super small role, but
hey, anything works, definitely. So to kind of start to wrap things up, is there anything that you wanted to anything else that you wanted to say about HyperForce, or to the people that watch or haven't seen it yet, or
to the people that watch it, thank you for giving us a chance, because I know that it is a different format, and I know it can get a bit of time it can take a bit of time to get used to, but you guys did. And because you guys did, we are going strong, and we have gotten more support than ever from the community. So thank you for those people that watch it. You guys really do mean so much to me. This HyperForce is not just like a Ranger series that I'm on. Like, this is my passion, And for the people that don't watch it, I would say give it a chance. Give it a chance. If you are not into watching it, read some of the overviews that people write. Check it out, because we do have a good story, and it's a very, very fun format. I know that it's not like a live thing, but we have a lot of great cameos from past Rangers, current Rangers, and just good storytelling. Absolutely. Now, is there any other things that you want to plug, any social media you want to let people know about, or upcoming projects to keep an eye out on? I have a YouTube channel, so if there are people that are looking to see me in different light, I have a YouTube called youtube.com/apartment210. I post a lot of satire, a lot of comedy, a lot of we try to do original series, but we've only done 2 really. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining. To everybody listening, definitely check out HyperForce if you haven't already. As you've heard from Peter, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. It's exciting times for the Power Rangers franchise. Yeah. All right, dude. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you online, man. Sounds good. Thanks, Peter.